Hey ladies, so this video will be talking about how I achieved my natural childbirth. I want you to know it is doable, and I truly believe that it is mental, it is mind over matter. If nothing else in this world is mind over matter, childbirth is. So I want to share with you the tools that I use. I had a few women ask me what did I use. I have a friend that's pregnant right now, and she wants to know. I have two people I know that are pregnant right now. One's further along than the other, and they want to know, what did you do? How did you do it? Because when I tell them about my childbirth, they say you say it like it's nothing. And honestly, it wasn't that bad. It was tough going through it, but it was doable. But this video is going to talk about my resources that I use. My next video will talk about the actual labor and delivery. So I'm going to try not to get into too much depth about that part in this video. Okay, I'm a firm believer on knowledge is power, and that relates to pregnancy as well. Knowledge is power. The more you know, the less scared you will be. So many women are scared of childbirth. For one, I'm a nurse, so I know a lot about it. I know a good bit about it. I don't know a lot. Two, I'm spiritual. I know God designed women to have children. If childbirth was so horrible, we wouldn't be here, because women would have stopped having children a long time ago. But something is just so marvelous about childbirth and doable that women have kept doing it, and we're here. And I know that it's possible. Women before me have had natural childbirth, so I can too. If you watched my previous video on my miscarriage, you will know I was pregnant before for a short time before I conceived with my rainbow child. I only had one miscarriage, and that happened in September. And I found out I was pregnant mid to late December of the same year. So with the first pregnancy, when the doctor was asking me, do you want to have a natural childbirth, or do you want to have a epidural or medicine or whatever? That first pregnancy, I was contemplating natural childbirth, but I was nervous, I was scared. So I told him, I said, put epidural down for right now. I'm going to let you know if I'm going to change it, but we never got to that point. So with this pregnancy, I had the same doctor. I started off with the same doctor, and I told him natural. It was no question for me that second time around, because during that process of trying again after my miscarriage, I was continuing to grow in faith with God. I was praying to him every month. I was praying to him every day that, over the next few months I would get pregnant. So when I got pregnant that second time, I was elated. I was thankful to God, and I was like, I don't need anything medicinal interfering with this childbirth, so I'm going natural. I'm standing on faith during the conceiving part. I'm going to stand on faith during the pregnancy and the labor. So that's what I did. And so after I decided I wanted to go natural, I was like, what can I do to help me? So I started looking into doulas, which I will talk to you about my doula. And how I wanted to have birth. Now in the state of Alabama, you cannot push a baby out in the water. You can labor in the water, but when it's time to push, you have to get out if you're in a facility. Like, we don't have any birthing centers here that I'm aware of that pushing for stuff like that. But right now, we don't have that. Some women do home births, but it's frowned upon. Alabama's so behind with that, but we're really frowned upon. But I wanted to do a water birth if I could, or at least labor in the water. So after I had an OB, I started off with an OB. He asked me what my birthing plan was. I told him, I said, I want a doula, and I want to labor in the water. I want little interventions. And I'm going to tell y'all, this man, first off, I had a black male doctor. This man was friendly. You could tell he was serious, but he was very friendly. He went from writing on his paper when I told him what I wanted to when I said I wanted a doula, he sat back and was like, and then when I told him I wanted to labor in water, he really got really rigid and uptight, and he was like, let me tell you something right now. I don't like doulas, and he said it was because he's had issues with doulas in the past overstepping their boundaries, and I'll talk to you about what a doula is in a minute. And then he said second, as far as labor in the water, that's going to be impossible because I like to keep my patients on monitoring 24/7 the whole time you're there, because you can miss something when you're not hooked up to the monitor. I was like, okay, cool. I understand that. I told them I would not let my doula overstep her boundaries because it's not her place. And I understood what he was saying from a nursing standpoint about staying hooked onto the monitor. So I left there and I was telling my husband, and I'm not really for him right now. You know, like I don't think he's going to be who I want to stay with. And he was like, okay, well just wait a few more doctor's visits to see, you know, if you change your mind. My husband wanted me to wait till I was 24 weeks to change providers, and I was like, no, I need to find somebody, because I'm not going to wait that long to change provider. I need to have a provider that's going to support what I want to do with my body, with my vagina, for my baby. That's not going to be trying to push me into doing what they want me to do. For one thing, I ended up switching to a midwife. She was one of the only practicing midwives in the city, and I'm so grateful that I did, because I love her to death. She's certified nurse midwife. She works in a practice with other OBs, and they end up getting another nurse midwife. They have some nurse practitioners, but the whole practice is for natural birth, you know, if that's what their patient wants. But I want a nurse midwife, because nurse midwives focus on non-medicinal interventions, and they listen to the needs of their patients. And then I ended up getting a doula. So people always ask me, what the heck is a doula? So a doula is a woman who is trained to assist another woman during childbirth, and who may provide support to the family after the baby is born. So doulas can run you anywhere from like maybe $650 to over $1,000. My doula was $900. It's not all paid up front. It was some of the best money I could have ever invested, but it was broken up because I got with her so early in my pregnancy. I was able to pay her $300 here, $300 when I first signed up with her, $300 60 days before my due date, and then the other $300 30 days before my due date. And there are two doula services in my city. And then there are more doulas that are kind of like coming up. There are independent doulas, but it's hard for them to find clients. So a lot of them you'll find they're actually within a corporation, a business, or whatever you want to call it. She was referred to me by a woman I work with whose friend used her. Her name is Amanda. But my first meeting with her, we met at Starbucks. She asked me, you know, the basics about myself, what I was looking for. She gave me some great insight on like things like placenta encapsulation, you know, telling me that what you're doing and what you desire to do is doable. And you know, she was very supportive from that initial point from when I met her. And our second meeting was with me and my husband, so she can, you know, meet my husband, tell him what his role is going to be in there in the labor room, tell her what her role for him is going to be as a support person, and you know, things of that nature. Inform him, answer any questions that he may have, give him some insight on some things. And then that was our last meeting. She only does about 2 meetings, and then she comes to see postpartum. From when I first met her until about 6-7 weeks postpartum, any question that I have, I'm texting Amanda. If she comes across something that she thinks may be beneficial to me, she's texting it to me. If I go too long without texting her, she'll check on me, things of that nature. Like, she's like a labor coach, an informant. Anything I need to know, I can ask her, and she's a nurse as well. They're not always nurses, I'm not saying it, but she's just so happened to be a nurse RN as well. She only picks up two clients that are due around the same time to ensure that she doesn't run the risk of being spread thin if somebody goes into labor around the same time. And it's a funny thing about that, which you'll see in my labor delivery video, about the woman was her client as well. We went into labor around the same day, on the same day. Doula is very beneficial. Luckily, I have my husband, but every woman doesn't have their partner around or doesn't have a support person. So I think a doula is one of the best things if you have the money that you can invest in. And I think in some areas, doulas, because they may be considered childbirth education, may be covered by your insurance. Don't quote me on that, but I think I ran across some information on that on one of the videos I watched when searching on doulas. Knowledge is power. I have this book by Ina May Gaskin. It's Ina May's Guide to Childbirth. The first part of this book is birthing stories, and then the rest of it talks about, interventions, what you can do in regards to managing your childbirth. It talks about everything. It's everything you need to know to have the best birth experience for you, whether in a hospital, birthing center, or in the comfort of your home. Ina May Gaskin is a midwife, and she's wrote several books, but I think she works on the farm, and that's in Tennessee, not sure which city. But she's seen hundreds of births. She's helped women get through births with shoulder dystocia, to have had like a C-section or something in the hospital. She's helped these women push these babies out. She's been with women that have birthed for days on end. So she is very knowledgeable, and this book really helped relieve a lot of any worry that I had about childbirth. So I suggest you pick this up, and it's about $18. I think it was a little cheaper than that actually. I got it on Amazon. Second book, Supernatural Childbirth by Jackie Mize. This is a very short book, and this book is based off a woman that had miscarriage, and she had, I think, 4 successful children afterwards. But the best thing about this woman here is that her husband was on board with her spiritually. She knew that it would take prayer, it would take devotion, it would take scriptures, confession, speaking over your pregnancy, speaking over your body, speaking over your pregnancy process and your childbirth process beforehand, speaking over conception beforehand, speaking things into existence about what you want, so the enemy won't come in and smite you or, change your thoughts. You have to build a strong foundation if you're going to have natural childbirth. It's mind over matter, and this book helped me because it's a very short book, very easy read. They have it on audio too. I had the audio playing like when I went to work sometimes, and it has, the first part talks about her experiences, how she used scripture to help her get through things, how praying about her childbirth made them so easy to the point where every time she had a child, the people, her care providers, just laughed because they didn't think she was in labor. Because for one thing, she talks about pain. If you let the fear of pain come into your mindset, if you get fearful when the process comes, that's when the pain kicks in, and I can attest to that. When you let fear come in, that's when the pain comes. That's when you start to get doubtful of yourself, and you think, I can't do this. But her childbirths were pretty much pain-free. Her providers didn't even think she was in labor half the time. She had to tell them, I know my body. If you don't get me into a room, I'm going to push this baby out on this floor. And then in the back, she has confessions over your pregnancy, before your pregnancy, during delivery, when you're threatening miscarriage, things like that. So if you're spiritual, this really, really, really helped me, y'all. This really helped me. And somebody may think, hey, you crazy. Women that have children and they, went through the pain, then you say my childbirth wasn't painful. And they like, you lying? And I'm like, no, it wasn't. The word that I use for my childbirth is intense. I'm not going to say painful, I'm going to say intense. And I didn't say pain the whole time I was having a child, going through labor delivery. I just used the words intense. But get this book. It says $11.99. And yeah, I think it was about $11 on Amazon. Audio, a little bit cheaper. But you can read this multiple times. If you get this early on in your pregnancy, read it in the beginning, the middle, and the end, just as refreshers, and you can use the confessions daily. It's called Natural Childbirth the Bradley Way, and it's more so at helping him to be a coach for me. My husband didn't read this book for real. I think he maybe skimmed over and looked at it one time. And this is a used book I got off Amazon. I looked at it and read it. It was pretty good, but it's like at the bottom of my list because, like I said, it's more for the person that's helping you and them to know how to coach you during the process. But yes, the Ina Gaskin's Guide to Childbirth is number 1. Supernatural Childbirth by Jackie Mize is number 2. I kept considering hypnobirthing. By the time I really set my mind on it, it was too late for me to get the course I was looking for, and it's called Hypno Babies. You can look into that if you're early on in your pregnancy. Like I said, natural childbirth is mind over matter, and I needed to prep my mind outside of the confessions and stuff that I did in the praying. I knew when I got into the actual active labor, I wanted something to help me focus and take my mind off of it. So I found, let's see, it's called Hypnobirthing Home Study Course, and there are different parts, and you can download the music, the Amazon Music app for your phone, and once you pay for these MP3s, they're very cheap. Once you pay for your MP3s for the hypnobirthing, I got all of them. I think it's like 4 or 5 different ones. And they have birth affirmations, they help you visualize, they help you relax, things like that. Breathing during contractions, breathing during pushing the baby out. It's very calming. This woman's voice is very calming, and I'm going to put the link for them in the description box, and try to insert a picture of what it looks like. But it's Hypnobirthing Home Study Course by Catherine Clark and the Hypnobirthing Hub. I was like, I don't think I could be hypnotized. And it's not really hypnotizing you, it's more so getting your mind in a state of calmness, not letting anything come in and interfere with your goal of having the natural childbirth. And I'll talk to you about how well it helped me in the next video. But this is one of the cheaper options because Hypno Babies is expensive, and you have to be dedicated to doing it. So I think I got this maybe around 34, 35 weeks, and I did not listen to it every day like I was supposed to. I tried to, and every time I put it in my ear, y'all, I fell asleep, and I kept waking up like, dang, that was some deep sleep. But I fell asleep. Like, how can I successfully go through hypnobirthing if I keep falling asleep on the tracks? But you know, if you fall asleep listening to something, your mind is still consciously obtaining that information, and I can attest to that was the truth. But and then I also read that even if you listen to it and you fall asleep, it's really helpful. Hey, baby. But yeah, even if you fall asleep listening to it, just know that your mind is still taking in what that track is saying. It's helping you breathe, it's helping you to relax, and then like I said, if you fall asleep on it, just know you're gonna get some good sleep. You're gonna get really good sleep. But I'm more nervous to have an epidural needle put in my back. Because once you read these books, you'll know, like, once you get the epidural, so much stuff is increased, like the risk of you having to have a C-section increased, the risk of them having to use forceps or a vacuum to get your baby out increases. You can have severe back pain, you can have severe headaches, like excruciating headaches where you feel like your brain's going to explode because they put the needle into the wrong area of your spinal cord and that medicine is infusing. Like, I don't like it. You get an epidural, you immediately have to get a Foley put in. I'm a nurse. I don't like Foleys. I ain't getting one. And then, you know, you're going to be numb from a certain part of your body all the way down. You can't get up and walk immediately. I knew I wanted to be able to get up and walk immediately. I wanted to shower. I wanted to have sensation. I didn't want to be confined to a bed. It still has a way of slowing things down. And I wanted to be able to be up and move through contractions and stuff, change my positions to help the baby come down. You can't do that with epidural. Not easily, you can't. I would tell anybody to go for it, you know. And one thing I will tell you is don't tell everybody that you want to go natural, because you get so much negative commentation or comments about childbirth. Like, people, when I would tell them I want to be natural, they'd be like, whatever, you know. I remember being at a family, my brother-in-law's graduation party, and I told somebody that, and the woman was just like, like, yeah, good luck. Like, you don't need that. You don't need that negativity telling you that you can't do something that is doable, because clearly. Okay, guys, so this is where things get a little weird. Okay, I don't know what happened to my footage, but for the most part, this video is over. So I want to make sure that I just come in where the video cuts off, where it was saying, you know, don't tell everybody what you're planning to do, because unfortunately, it's just too much negativity around natural birth. In America, we are so medicinal, Western medicine, and if you just look at other countries, epidurals and medical interventions are the last resort. So you it's possible. It's possible to have a natural childbirth. And if that's what you want to do, just do it. Go for it. I suggest you do your research, of course. I suggest you try to educate yourself as best as possible. And one thing I can tell you, in any instance, whether it's natural childbirth, anything, make sure that you do your research on all the things that can happen. I was blessed enough to be able to have 95% of my birth plan, you know, followed and go accordingly, but things can happen. Something can happen to where you have to have a C-section. So, you know, don't be disappointed if things don't go 100% as planned, but the biggest thing is to be sure that you have a team around you that supports what you want, and that's not going to try to push things on you that you don't desire. So, yeah, I'm going to end the video here. If you have questions, you can email Brittany Shakur at outlook.com, or you can write me on my Instagram, Wigs by Brittany Shakur. I'll put those links at the bottom. And I'm kind of disappointed that the last little bit of that footage got deleted, but it's okay. We're at the end of the video. I hope you guys found this video helpful. Be on the lookout for my last video of the part 3 series, my labor and delivery story. And I enjoyed you guys. Like this video, thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.